Friends and loved ones, welcome back to my channel. This is Rick Luckett. We're going to learn a little bit about John Foxe, the man who collected the stories of martyrs from Stephen the martyr in the Book of Acts through the apostles and all the way up into the 1500s. So, and then he put the collection together and called it the Foxe Book of Martyrs. I think that's backwards. Well, it's the Foxe Book of Martyrs. We're going to read a little bit of it and learn a little bit about John Foxe. Martyrdom followed the gospel wherever it went, wherever it conflicted with local customs or practices. Sometimes the clash would be characterized as pagan versus Christian, or other times, sadly, the clash was Christians versus Christians. The Reformation was at just such a time. The church seemed mired in falsehood and deceit. The visionaries believed that the restorative transformation was necessary. Godly men committed to faith in Jesus Christ called for change. It's not surprising that these challenges were unwelcome. By who? Those that wanted to keep the gospel out of everyone's hands. They didn't want people to read the gospel, because if they read the gospel, then they wouldn't need someone speaking in a foreign language telling them what to do and what, Plus, they could preach a false gospel, and which is they still do to this day. They preach a false gospel. It's not the gospel Paul preached. These so the church authorities attempted to silence the reformers, eventually resorting to force. Many reformers, also known as Protestants, faced their own martyrdom: death by fire, by hanging, strangulation, and beheading. Who gives these people the right? Because they want a Bible in their own language, so they, we own the Bible. We're the masters of Bibles. You don't get to read it in your own language, then you may not need us. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what this is all about. Millions or thousands of people died. Godly men. Okay, so into this time of political, social, and spiritual upheaval, John Foxe was born in Boston, England, in 1516. Consider that only 1 year after Foxe's birth, Martin Luther posted his 95 Theses on the cathedral in Wittenberg, Germany. During Foxe's lifetime, England was torn apart with violence, motivated much by politics as by religious conviction. That year, John Foxe went to Oxford. They sure jumped ahead a long way from his birth. So that year, John Foxe went to Oxford to study. In 1534. King Henry VIII declared himself head of the Church of England, separating from the authority of Rome. Until his death 13 years later, Henry used religious piety to justify his political aspirations, rocking the country with conflict and upheaval. Despite his break from Rome, Henry VIII still considered himself a Catholic and was not sympathetic to Protestant views and opinions. In spite of the dubious political motivations of the king and his heavy-handed means of dealing with anyone who crossed him. The Reformation found willing hearts in England, and due in large part to the availability of William Tyndale's Bible in English. One of those willing hearts belonged to John Foxe, a gifted scholar who is said to have counted martyrs Dean Noel, Hugh Latimer, and William Tyndale among the intimate friends and correspondents. John Foxe eventually resigned. Some say he was forced to resign. his fellowship at Oxford in 1545 because of his Protestant beliefs. A short time later, he married Agnes Randall, Agnes Randall of Coventry, a woman who shared his faith. He spent many years underemployed, mostly as a tutor in private households, serving on the wrong side of the ongoing religious wars. In the reign of Henry's son, so Henry VIII's son has taken over now, and he's a Protestant. Edward VI, 1547 to 1553, the Reformation blossomed in England. Leaders such as Thomas Cranmer, Nicholas Ridley, and Hugh Latimer gave voice and form to the ideas and energies of change. The distinctions between the Church of England and the Church of Rome were magnified, thanks in no small part to the increased publication of religious books and tracts in the English language, and through the liturgy in English as set forth by Cranmer in his book of Common Prayer, published in 1549. But this Reformation surge screeched to a halt in 1553 when Mary Tudor, she's the one that took over from Edward VI, succeeded her brother to the throne. To Mary, a devout Catholic, Protestantism represented her father, Henry VIII's shameful divorce from her mother. Determined to avenge her past offenses, Mary committed herself to restoring Roman Catholic England. Man, that's got to be rough on the people to be bouncing around like that. And she did so with a vengeance. Protestants fled England to the continent of Europe to find safety and Protestant communities in Germany, Switzerland, and France. Many, including John Fox and his family, settled in and around Geneva. Fox found a new career in publishing, becoming a printer and proofreader. And during this time, he took more and more interest in collecting stories about those who had been martyred. Fox published an early draft of these stories in 1554, soon after he arrived in Europe. Okay, that's it. That's my opening to my first day of Fox Book of Martyrs. We're going to talk just real quick about William Tyndale. His story is fascinating. So William Tyndale is English. He's an English scholar. He goes to the Bishop Cuthbert Townsend, Bishop of London, and asks if he can translate the Greek Hebrew manuscripts into English for the people to read the gospel. And Bishop Cuthbert tells him no. I don't think he just didn't want to deal with the drama and the conflict with Rome and stuff. He just didn't want to he didn't want the hassle. So he just said, nah, you don't need to do that. He didn't say, I'm going to burn you at the stake if you do it. So William Tyndale goes to Belgium. He goes to Antwerp, and he gets some Greek and Hebrew manuscripts from Erasmus, out of his collection, and translates the Bible into English. And it's a success. He makes a New Testament English translation of the Bible, and prints bunches of copies and sends them off to England. Well, they're not happy about it. They're upset, and they issue a warrant for his arrest for heresy. And I don't think he didn't know about it. I don't think it got back to him yet. But this one cat right here, this one guy, what's his name? Henry Phillips, Duke of the Holy Roman Empire. He'd been William Tyndale's friend over in Antwerp, and so he goes over and he's talking to him, and he hits him up for 40 shillings. So this guy, Henry Phillips, Duke of the Holy Roman Empire, borrows 40 shillings from William Tyndale and says, hey, let's go out to dinner tonight. Like, they're all friends. And he goes out to dinner. William goes out to dinner with him, and he has him arrested. Like, there's authorities there, and he has him arrested, put into a castle dungeon, and then strangled and burnt at the stake for translating the Bible into English. Isn't that awful? I'm disgusted at humanity, man. Just like it's one thing after another, like year after year. Just this, man, we need Jesus to return. Reading that stuff, this Fox Book of Martyrs, disgusting. All for control. That's what it's all about, control. It's the devil. Who's behind it? Our battle's not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities in high places. That's our battle. Our battle's in high places. You got to stay in prayer, because no man's ever going to rule this world and do it righteously. Jesus Christ is the only one that's going to be able to do it. He's the only one that can do it. He's the only one that will do it, and he's going to do it. He's going to rule with a rod of iron, a world of peace. I wasn't gonna, but I gotta pray, man, because I feel so disturbed and sick to my stomach that just all to control people and get indulgences and brainwash them and make them into little slaves and servants is sickening. But I'm sorry. Jesus, forgive me for my sins. Help me to make right decisions. Fill my heart with forgiveness and understanding, Lord, and motivate us even more to go reach the lost with the gospel of Jesus Christ and to help our brothers and sisters grow in strength. Let that be my mission, Lord. Amen. All right, I love you guys. I'll see you on the next edition of Excerpts from Fox Book of Martyrs. Bye.